Hey everyone. Welcome back. This is Six Path Weeb, your go-to spot for anime twists, deep dives, and fan-made journeys through the shinobi world. Today, we're diving into part 3 of our fanfic series, The Rebirth of Naruko Yamanaka, a tale of strength, identity, and unexpected evolution in the Naruto universe. Disclaimer, this content is purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage or characters referenced. Credit goes entirely to their original creators and copyright holders. Alright, shinobi, let's begin. I can't believe I'm doing this, thought Sakura Haruno. She stood in the middle of a bustling street in Konoha's commercial district, her gaze fixed on the well-known flower shop that also served as the home of the Yamanaka clan, known for their unique metal techniques. Pots and baskets brimming with vibrant blooms were arranged near the open doors and wide windows of the cheerful yellow building, charming anyone who happened to pass by. Sakura glanced over her shoulder, eyeing a certain blonde girl grinning from behind the corner of a building, offering an encouraging thumbs up. The pink-haired girl sighed. This better work, Naruko. Or I'll be very annoyed. She let the vague thought drift away as she turned toward the shop's entrance. How did I even let myself get talked into this? Flashback. It had been another long, eventful day for Team 7. Their missions had included important village support tasks like tidying the academy hallways, painting fences with meticulous care, and the ever-recurring chase after the clever and elusive feline, Tora. As the sun dipped lower, the young shinobi were visibly tired. Their tall, silver-haired mentor stretched. Nothing like walking dogs to keep the blood pumping. Wouldn't you agree, everyone? Kakashi said cheerfully, wiping imaginary sweat from his forehead. The three genin gave their sensei a less than enthusiastic look. If I had to spend another moment with a dog that refused to stop at every corner, I'd rather spend time with Kiba, Naruko muttered, standing beside Sasuke, who leaned casually against the trunk of a nearby tree. Sasuke gave a small smirk, mildly amused by the comment. Naruko, that's not very kind, Sakura chided gently. She was sitting under the tree's shade, her pink dress slightly wrinkled from the day's work. Kakashi turned his attention to the blonde kunoichi, noticing the slight frown on her face. Something bothering you, Naruko? You seem a bit tense. Naruko gave a light sigh. Sorry, Captain. It's just. When do we get to take on missions that really test our abilities? These are missions, Kakashi replied with his usual calm. I mean more challenging ones where we can actually grow as shinobi, not just run errands. Sakura and Sasuke both looked toward their teacher, clearly sharing the sentiment. Kakashi responded with a reassuring smile. When you've worked together long enough, the higher-ranking missions will come. These early ones help build trust and teamwork. The trio collectively slumped at the familiar response. Outing won't change anything, Kakashi added. But if you keep working hard, I'll speak to the Hokage about a C-rank mission soon. That promise sparked a bit of excitement, especially in Sasuke and Naruko, who both looked eager to move forward. Alright, that's all for today. Tomorrow's your day off, rest up. See you then. Kakashi gave a quick wave before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. With their mentor gone, Sasuke soon began to walk off quietly on her own. Sakura thought about catching up to her and asking if she wanted to spend time together, but her body was just too tired. Instead, she stayed seated, hoping to recover some energy. After a few moments, footsteps approached. She glanced up to find Naruko standing in front of her with arms crossed, watching her silently. Sakura closed her eyes for a second, trying to ignore the stare. But eventually, she gave in. What is it? She asked with a raised brow. Well? Naruko replied simply. Well what? Sakura responded, feeling slightly exasperated. Naruko sighed softly. When are you going to talk to Ino and make up? Sakura hesitated. I will. When I'm ready. You've been saying that for 2 weeks, Naruko said gently. How much longer will you wait? It's not that easy. Sakura burst out. I can't just walk up to her and say sorry. Why not? Naruko asked, tilting her head. Sakura glanced away. It's complicated. You wouldn't get it, it's girl stuff. Naruko resisted the urge to reply with sarcasm, instead choosing patience. She knew Sakura probably wouldn't act on her own and that things might never be resolved if she didn't step in. I'll help you, Naruko said suddenly. Sakura's eyes widened. How? The confident grin on Naruko's face said it all. She had a plan. As Naruko watched Sakura step through the entrance of the cheerful yellow building, a wave of curiosity and nervous anticipation washed over her. She hoped everything would go smoothly between the two former friends. "Welcome to the Yamanaka flower shop," Ino greeted casually, not lifting her gaze from the fashion magazine she was reading. "You always greet customers like that, Ino?" Sakura asked playfully, raising an eyebrow. Ino frowned slightly and set down her magazine. "What brings you here, Sakura?" "I'm working, and I thought you'd be off talking about how amazing you think Sasuke is." Sakura smirked lightly. "I can see you're very busy," she said, motioning to the nearly empty shop, "but actually, I'm not here to talk about Sasuke." "Then unless you're planning to buy something, I'd prefer you not hang around. You might distract the customers." Sakura took a deep breath to stay composed. "Stay focused, Sakura. Just stick to the plan." "Very funny," Sakura replied with a light, sarcastic laugh. "I could say a few things back, but this isn't about you today. I'm here for Naruko." "Naruko?" Ino asked, setting her magazine aside and giving Sakura her full attention. "What do you want with her?" "I just need to pass along a message," Sakura answered simply. Ino's curiosity piqued, though she tried to hide it. "Well, Naruko isn't here right now, but you can tell me and I'll make sure she gets it." "Nice try," Sakura replied with a knowing smile. "This message is only for Team 7 members." Ino sighed, accepting defeat in her attempt to get the details. Must be something boring like a mission update or training, she thought. Still, Sakura continued, glancing at the clock, "Naruko told me her shift started at 2, but she's not here. Do you know where I could find her?" Ino looked up at the wall clock. It was exactly 2 o'clock. "She should already be here," Ino admitted with a shrug. Sakura mused. "Mind if I wait here? It's pretty hot outside." Ino considered saying no, but letting someone overheat outside the shop wouldn't look good. "Fine, but don't touch anything." Sakura scoffed, clearly having heard her, but said nothing more. The store grew quiet again as Sakura wandered around, admiring the bright and fragrant displays of flowers and neatly arranged pots. She glanced back at Ino, who was once again absorbed in her magazine. "Now's my chance." "Is that the newest issue of Konoha Vogue?" Sakura asked with mock surprise. "Yeah. Why?" Ino replied without looking up. "No reason. Just thought I'd mention that Sasuke is definitely going to be impressed when he sees me wearing the new Kunoichi Laundry Nika boots. In pink." Ino blinked. Now she was paying attention. "Pink?" she asked skeptically. "There are no Nika boots in pink." Sakura shook her head, feigning smugness. "Looks like someone hasn't been keeping up with fashion trends." Ino narrowed her eyes. "I'm pretty sure they don't come in that color." "Then let me be the first to tell you, you're wrong," Sakura said confidently. "I saw them just the other day in the commercial district." Ino frowned in disbelief. "That can't be." "You don't believe me?" Sakura teased. "Want to make a little bet?" "What kind of bet?" Ino asked, still doubtful but intrigued. "Simple. Let's go to the commercial district and see for ourselves. Loser buys lunch, at Greenleaf." Ino narrowed her eyes. "Fine. You're on, forehead." "Perfect. As soon as I pass the message to Naruko, we'll head out." "Wait, you mean today?" "Of course. You didn't think I'd let you wiggle out of this, did you?" Sakura grinned. "Or are you scared?" "Me? Scared? Please," Ino chuckled. "Let's do this." Their gazes locked in a playful challenge, the air between them charged with competitive energy. Then, the bell above the shop door chimed, breaking the tension. Naruko walked in. "Sorry I'm late, Ino-chan," she called out as she made her way to the counter. Then she noticed Sakura. "Oh, hey, Sakura. What are you doing here?" Sakura crossed her arms. "I've been waiting for you, silly. What took you so long?" Naruko tilted her head. "You were waiting for me? Why?" Sakura stepped closer and leaned in, whispering something in Naruko's ear. Ino, watching from the counter, unconsciously snapped the pencil in her hand in half. When Sakura finished, she stepped back. "That's all. Did you get it?" "Yeah, I got it," Naruko replied with a smile. "Good," she said with a smile, then turned to the still slightly flustered Ino. "Now that's settled, shall we head out?" Ino nodded and began untying the apron she had been wearing over her outfit. Naruko glanced between the two girls, a bit puzzled. "Huh? Are you two going somewhere?" Ino walked around the counter, handed the apron to Naruko, and replied, "Yeah, we're heading to the commercial district." Can you believe this girl? She said there are Nika shoes in pink. Pink, I tell you. Naruko didn't really know what a Nika was, but she nodded politely. Sure, Ino-chan. Ino had always found it amusing how little Naruko cared about fashion, but she didn't have time to give her a style lecture. She had a friendly bet to win. Let's go, Sakura. With that, Ino headed for the door, and Sakura followed close behind. Wait. Aren't you forgetting something, Ino-chan? The two girls turned back to Naruko, only to see her already wearing the apron and holding her right hand in the air. Realization sparked in Ino's eyes. Oh, right. She walked over to Naruko and raised her hand to meet hers. Tag switch. She called cheerfully as their hands met. Sakura rolled her eyes with a small smile. Such goofballs. With the switch complete, Ino returned to Sakura's side, and Naruko took her place behind the counter. Her shift had officially begun. Sakura glanced at Ino, silently asking if she was ready. Ino nodded, and the two of them stepped outside. Sakura lingered just a moment to offer Naruko a quick nod, then hurried after her friend. Now that she had the shop to herself, Naruko grinned playfully. There's no way I'm missing this. Databayo. She brought her hands together in a familiar cross-shaped seal. Suddenly, there was a loud pop, followed by a flash of smoke. When it cleared, a second Naruko stood beside the original, except this one had an oversized bow on her head, and was striking an exaggerated pose. Welcome to the fabulous flower stand. The clone announced dramatically, sending petals flying from who knows where. Naruko blinked. Okay, I didn't program her to do that. The door jingled, and a small group of children peeked inside, eyes wide with amazement. Whoa! That was so cool. Can we come in? Naruko gave a sheepish smile. Sure. Why not? The clone struck another pose. Today only. Free daffodils with every smile. Naruko sighed, smiling despite herself. Guess it's gonna be one of those shifts. The bell above the shop door jingled, signaling the arrival of a customer. Naruko looked up from arranging a bouquet, expecting to see a familiar face. Instead, a cloaked figure stood at the entrance, their face partially obscured by the hood. Welcome to Yamanaka Flowers. Naruko greeted cheerfully. How can I help you today? The figure stepped forward, revealing a gentle smile beneath the hood. I'm looking for someone named Naruko Uzumaki. Naruko tilted her head, curiosity piqued. That's me. Do I know you? The visitor removed her hood, revealing striking features, bright blue eyes that mirrored Naruko's own and long, flowing red hair. The resemblance was uncanny. My name is Kaori, she said softly. I believe we share a connection. Naruko's eyes widened. Wait. Are you saying we're related? Kaori nodded. I'm your aunt. I was a close friend of your mother, Kushina. After the events that unfolded years ago, I went into hiding to protect myself and others. But now, I've returned to find you. Naruko's heart raced. She had always yearned to learn more about her family, and now, a piece of that puzzle stood before her. Why now? Naruko asked, emotions swirling within her. Kaori's expression turned serious. Because the time has come for you to learn about your heritage and the responsibilities that come with it. There's more to your lineage than you know, and it's crucial that you're prepared for what's ahead. Naruko nodded, determination shining in her eyes. I'm ready to learn. The air was warm and fragrant inside the Yamanaka flower shop. Sunlight filtered through the windows, turning the petals of orchids and sunflowers into brilliant stained glass. Behind the counter, Naruko Uzumaki adjusted a bouquet of wildflowers, humming a tune that had no real melody, just energy, like her. Her mischievous clone had disappeared an hour ago after putting on a spontaneous flower fashion show for a group of kids. With Ino and Sakura out in the shopping district, she had the place to herself. For once, it was calm. That was, until the bell above the door jingled. Naruko glanced up, expecting one of the usual visitors, Mrs. Yamato with her tea-scented shawl, or maybe that shy boy from the bookstore. But it wasn't either of them. A tall woman in a travel-stained cloak stood in the doorway, unmoving. Her hood was up, casting her face in shadows, but something about her made Naruko pause. She was calm, too calm for a stranger. And her presence. It was strong. Like she belonged here, even though she clearly didn't. Welcome, Naruko said, flashing her usual grin. Looking for something bright and blooming, or just browsing? The woman stepped forward with slow grace. Her voice was warm and deep, but gentle. Actually, I'm looking for Naruko Uzumaki. Naruko blinked. That's me. The woman stopped in front of the counter. Then we need to talk. Without a word, she pushed back her hood. Naruko's breath caught. Long, vivid red hair spilled down the woman's shoulders. Her skin was a warm bronze, and her eyes, a mirror of Naruko's own, were filled with something deeper than memory. Her face was older, but unmistakable. You, Naruko whispered, heart suddenly pounding. You look like. My name is Kaori, the woman said. I'm your aunt. Your mother's sister. Naruko's world tilted. For as long as she could remember, she'd believed she was alone. The Hokage and Iruka-sensei had told her the truth gently, her parents had passed protecting the village. She knew of her mother, Kushina Uzumaki, only through faint records and quiet stories. An entire family erased by time and conflict. But now.
I don't understand, she said, voice barely more than a breath.
Why haven't I met you before? Where have you been all this time? Kaori looked at her with sadness and pride. In hiding. After the fall of our clan, I went into exile. Not to run, but to protect the few remaining secrets of our people. The Uzumaki were feared and misunderstood. And hunted. But now, things are changing. The world is stirring, Naruko. And so are the gifts you carry. Naruko took a step back, gripping the edge of the counter. Gifts? Kaori nodded. Your chakra, your connection to people, your ability to never give up, these are more than traits. They're echoes of your heritage. And they're calling now. Calling? Naruko frowned. To where? To your past, Kaori said softly. And your future. Later that night, after Ino had returned and teased her about being weirdly quiet, Naruko sat on her rooftop, gazing at the stars. Kaori's words kept echoing in her head. You're more than you've been told. You carry a legacy that even the Hokage barely understands. That would have sounded like bragging to anyone else. But to Naruko, it was like someone had lit a candle inside her, a flame chasing away the fog of uncertainty she hadn't even known was there. She remembered the dreams. The ones she'd had since childhood. A glowing tree at the center of an island. A whisper in the wind. A voice calling her name, not loudly, but with quiet insistence, like a breeze nudging her shoulder. That night, as the moon rose, Naruko dreamed again. She stood on mist-covered ground, surrounded by silence. In front of her stood the tree, enormous, glowing, ancient. Its bark was carved with spiral patterns that pulsed gently with light. Beneath the tree stood a woman, red hair dancing in the wind, wearing robes of silver and crimson. She smiled at Naruko, and raised one hand. The grove remembers you, child of the storm. Naruko stepped forward, reaching out. And then she woke up, breath catching in her throat. Kaori was waiting on the rooftop. I felt it, she said. You saw the Heartgrove tree. Naruko sat up. What is it? Kaori looked at the horizon, her expression unreadable. A living seal. An ancient source of power and memory, hidden by our ancestors. And it's waking up because of you. Why me? Because you're the last living heir to the grove. And it needs your help. By morning, the shop was bustling again, but Naruko's thoughts were elsewhere. She'd agreed. Of course she had. If the grove needed her, if her people had left behind something sacred, she couldn't ignore it. Kaori had given her a map. Not a normal one, etched with chakra-reactive ink, glowing only under moonlight. The journey would take her beyond the village, to a remote island surrounded by fog, known to few but feared by many. Before leaving, Naruko met with Tsunade. You sure about this? The Hokage asked, folding her arms. Naruko grinned. When have I ever not been sure? Tsunade sighed, but there was affection in her eyes. You've got backup if you need it. But this sounds like a calling only you can answer. With her blessing, and a special pouch of protective charms from Shizune, Naruko left the village at dawn. She wore no armor. Only her usual orange and blue outfit, a kunai pouch at her side, and the pendant Jiraiya had once given her. Kaori walked beside her in silence. As they passed under the outer gates, Naruko felt something shift. The wind carried the scent of sea salt and lavender. The road stretched long and winding before her. But for the first time in her life, she wasn't walking it alone. And this time, she wasn't chasing anyone. She was walking towards something hers. Morning dew clung to the leaves like tiny stars as Naruko knelt in quiet meditation beneath the Heartgrove tree. She had never been one for stillness, her energy was like a flickering flame, always in motion. But here, in the grove, things were different. The land spoke if you were willing to listen. And Naruko was finally listening. The roots of this tree hold the memories of our people, Kaori explained, standing beside her. The deeper you connect, the more you will understand. The grove responds not to strength of muscle, but to clarity of purpose. Naruko opened her eyes, exhaling slowly. And what if my purpose is still growing? Kaori smiled softly. Then let it bloom. They stood together, the morning sunlight filtering through the canopy. Naruko reached forward and placed her hand gently against the tree's bark. At her touch, the markings beneath her palm glowed with soft light. Not a burning fire, more like warmth from a firefly's wing. A spiral appeared on her hand, a living seal, pulsing in rhythm with the grove. You've awakened the first bloom seal, Sarai announced, emerging once again from the mists. The mark of the one chosen by the heart grove. Naruko stared at the mark in wonder. So, what now? Now, Sarai said, eyes gleaming, you grow into it. That night, under a canopy of silver stars, Naruko stood by the edge of the grove's reflecting pond. The surface was still, mirror-like, until it wasn't. A ripple broke the surface. Then another. Kaori appeared at her side, frowning. Something's coming, she said quietly. A disturbance. Not far from the island. Before Naruko could speak, a soft gust of wind swirled around her. It carried voices, whispers in a language she didn't know, but somehow understood. She heard her name. The sky above them darkened, not with storm clouds, but with a veil of unfamiliar chakra. At the edge of the pond, images flickered like a vision in water, another island, distant but unmistakable, with strange, crystalline spires piercing the sky. Saray's voice echoed in their minds. That is the Isle of Mirrors, once a sanctuary, now twisted. Whatever stirs there is calling you. Naruko clenched her fists. Then I'll answer. If it's seeking me, I'll see it with my own eyes. But be warned, Kaori said. Not everything that calls your name speaks with kindness. The journey to the Isle of Mirrors was not long, but it was unlike anything Naruko had experienced. The sea shimmered as if it were made of glass, and the sky above held no birds, only silence. Kaori stood at the bow of their small boat, guiding them with threads of chakra infused into the water. When they arrived, the island greeted them with stillness. No wind. No wildlife. Only the sound of their own footsteps on stone paths lined with mirrored crystals. Naruko's reflection stared back at her 1,000 times over, taller, smaller, childlike, grown. Some mirrors showed her in her old clothes, grinning with mischief. Others showed her wounded, weary, alone. Some didn't show her at all. This place, she whispered. It's meant to test your heart, Kaori said. Only those at peace with themselves can pass through safely. Naruko stepped toward the largest mirror. Her reflection moved with her, until it didn't. The image within stepped forward on its own, separate. This Naruko wore a flowing cloak, her eyes filled with certainty. But her voice was gentle. You've carried so much, the reflection said. The weight of being different. Of trying to prove yourself. Naruko nodded slowly. But you don't have to fight for your worth anymore, the reflection added. You already have it. The mirror shimmered, and then cracked, revealing a doorway behind it, glowing with soft lavender light. Naruko stepped through. Beyond the doorway, a new chamber waited. Inside was a garden of crystal flowers, every petal shaped by chakra, each one humming with memory. Sarai stood at the center, along with a figure Naruko had never seen before, a woman with hair like a burning sky and eyes as soft as sea glass. My mother? Naruko breathed. The woman nodded with a smile. Hello, my flower. Naruko's breath hitched as she fell to her knees. I've waited my whole life. I know, Kushina said, placing a gentle hand on her daughter's cheek. And I've watched you become everything I hoped you'd be. Naruko wept softly, not from sorrow, but release. For the first time, the ache in her chest eased. Kushina continued, you have my strength. But your own kindness. That's what makes you powerful. You're not just carrying the Uzumaki name, you're restoring it. Then she placed a hand over Naruko's heart. The final seal lives within you now. Let it blossom. A pulse of energy bloomed from within. Light radiated from her chest, unfurling like a lotus, gentle, powerful, radiant. Naruko stood tall. Her reflection was no longer fragmented. She wasn't chasing after shadows of the past anymore. She was becoming something new. A leader. A protector. Herself. The gates of Konoha rose before Naruko like the arms of an old friend, familiar, strong, and welcoming. But this time, She didn't run toward them with reckless energy. She walked. Kaori stood beside her, the sea breeze still clinging to their cloaks. They had left the grove behind, but Naruko could still feel it pulsing beneath her skin, the ancient warmth of her people, now living through her. A few shinobi on guard duty blinked as she approached. It wasn't just the glowing seal spiraled gently on her palm, or the new flowing fabric woven into her attire, marked with Uzumaki script. It was her. The way she held herself, graceful, calm, certain. One of the guards murmured, "Is that Naruko?" Word spread fast. By the time she reached the market road, whispers filled the air like flower petals in spring wind. "She's back. Is it true she trained with some ancient guardian? Look at her chakra, it's warm." Children peeked around corners. Vendors paused their transactions. Even the breeze seemed to hush. But Naruko didn't shrink under the attention. She smiled kindly, waving as she passed. Then came the familiar voice. "Oi, Naruko." Ino burst through the crowd, Sakura right on her heels. "What the heck happened to you? You disappear on some mysterious trip and come back like you stepped out of a scroll painting." Naruko grinned. "Miss me?" Sakura gave her a knowing look. "You've changed. It's not just your look. Your whole energy is different." "Good different, I hope?" Ino stepped close, giving her a once-over. "It's you. But more. Like you've grown into your chakra or something." Naruko nodded. "You could say that." As they walked together, people began to approach, some shyly, some openly. A child offered her a single daisy. A merchant bowed. A retired shinobi gave her a respectful nod. These small gestures struck Naruko deeper than any medal or title could. She didn't need them to call her a hero. They saw her now. And that was enough. Tsunade met Naruko in her office, arms folded, her expression unreadable. "So," she said, "you go off the grid with your long-lost aunt, walk into a sacred grove, unlock ancient power, and stroll back in like nothing happened?" Naruko scratched the back of her head. "You did say I'd know when I was ready." Tsunade gave a small chuckle. "And you are. That seal. It suits you." "I want to use it to help the village," Naruko said. "Not just in fights. I've learned things that could help others heal, protect, grow." Tsunade leaned back. "Then I'll grant you a new assignment. Not as a Genin. Not as a student. As a steward of the grove." Naruko blinked. "Wait, that's a real title?" "Now it is," Tsunade smirked. Over the following weeks, Naruko's presence in the village shifted. She began helping at the hospital, not with chakra scalpel techniques, but with gentle seal-imbued talismans that accelerated healing naturally. She planted herbs with Ino using soil techniques Kaori taught her, and worked with orphans on energy focus exercises passed down by the Uzumaki. People stopped calling her that loud girl. Now they called her Lady Bloom, a gentle nickname, one she wore with pride. One afternoon, Naruko visited the academy. Iruka-sensei had asked her to speak to a class about inner strength. As she entered the classroom, the children gasped. "Is that really her? She's so cool. Did she really tame a tree with her chakra?" Naruko laughed. "Not tame. Befriend." She sat on the desk, not behind it, and spoke from the heart. "I used to think power meant shouting the loudest or pushing the hardest. But sometimes, strength is learning when to listen. When to care. And most of all, when to believe in yourself, even when no one else does yet." The students were silent. Inspired. After class, one of the girls, a quiet one with short hair, approached her. "Lady Naruko," she whispered, "I get scared a lot. But when I think about you, I try not to give up." Naruko knelt and gave the girl a gentle pat on the head. "That's all it takes. Keep blooming, okay?" Not long after her return, the other villages began to take notice. Kumo sent a diplomat asking about the new sealing techniques revitalizing Konoha's crops. Soon his emissaries arrived with gifts, requesting an audience with the guardian of the grove. Even the Land of Water's ambassador bowed to Naruko at the Chunin exams. But Naruko didn't chase politics. She spent her time cultivating a new garden in the village square, open to everyone. A space of peace, protected by barrier seals and filled with plants that responded to chakra moods. It became a favorite spot for old veterans and playful children alike. One day, as she pruned a willow leaf, Kaori joined her. "You've done more in a few months than most leaders do in a decade," Kaori said. Naruko looked up with a gentle smile. "I didn't do it alone. You were the heart of it." Naruko shrugged, eyes twinkling. Maybe. But a heart needs others to beat with it. Years later, on the anniversary of the Grove's awakening, the village held a quiet celebration. No parades. Just lanterns, music, and food. Naruko stood on the same rooftop she once stared at as a restless teen, wondering where she belonged. Now, the stars felt closer. And she, more grounded than ever. As fireflies danced above the trees and laughter echoed below, she whispered a promise to the wind. To grow. To guide. To bloom. The breeze carried her words away, but not to vanish. To plant them. So they might bloom again. The village of Konoha stood as it always had, alive, vibrant, full of dreams and laughter. Yet, there was something subtly different now, a quiet energy that hummed through the streets. It wasn't in the hands of the strongest shinobi, or the bravest warriors. It was in the very air, the land, the people. And at the heart of it all stood Naruko Uzumaki. Years had passed since her return to the village. Konoha had changed, but so had she. No longer the loud, impulsive girl who sought to prove herself, she had blossomed into a leader, not by strength alone, but by compassion, patience, and understanding. She had become a guardian of the village in her own way. The Lady Bloom, as some called her, had transformed the Heartgrove's legacy into something alive in every corner of Konoha. The sacred seal she bore was not a mark of burden, but a symbol of the light she brought to others. Her garden flourished in the village square, a space where the children came to learn about the delicate balance of nature and chakra, and where older villagers came to find peace in its tranquility. The scent of flowers filled the air, soft but ever present, just like Naruko's influence. Her bond with the villagers deepened, and it wasn't just about protection or power. It was about guiding others, teaching them to trust themselves, to find their inner strength, just as she had learned to do. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Naruko stood before the Heartgrove tree, now fully in bloom, its branches reaching high with the same spirals that marked her seal. The wind rustled through the leaves, a soft whisper, like a memory carried on the breeze. Behind her, Kaori stood, her hand on her shoulder. "You've done it, Naruko," she said softly. "You've fulfilled the promise of the grove." Naruko smiled, her heart warm as she looked at the tree, her symbol, her legacy. The light of the stars above reflected in her eyes. "I didn't do it alone," she replied, her voice carrying the weight of truth. "I couldn't have done any of this without the people of this village. Without the love and trust they've given me." Kaori chuckled, a knowing glint in her eyes. "You've always had that in you. You just needed to believe it." Naruko closed her eyes, taking in a deep breath. "I'm still growing. But I know now. That's okay." A quiet peace settled over the two of them. Konoha was at peace, and Naruko, standing strong beneath the branches of the Heartgrove, was more than ready for whatever lay ahead. She wasn't just the last of her clan or a hero in the making. She was Naruko Uzumaki, her own person, not defined by anyone else's expectations. And as the wind danced through the trees, Naruko looked toward the horizon, where the sun began to set. The world was vast, full of challenges and wonders, and she would face it all with an open heart, just as she had always done. For the first time, she truly understood what it meant to be the blossom wind, a force of nature, not for destruction, but for growth, healing, and the strength to help others bloom. The Heartgrove tree stood tall behind her, the symbol of her journey and her people's legacy. It was a reminder that, just like the flowers it nurtured, no matter how long it took, everything would bloom in its own time. Naruko, the blossom wind, would always be there to ensure it did. And in that simple promise, she found her purpose. Dear YouTube viewers, as we come to the end of this beautiful fanfic series, I just want to take a moment to express my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who has joined me on this journey. Whether you've been here from the very beginning or you're just catching up, your support means the world. It's been an incredible ride, and I'm so grateful to have shared this story with you. I hope you found the characters and plot as engaging and exciting as I did while creating them. Naruko's journey has been one of growth, strength, and self-discovery, and I truly hope her story resonated with you in some way. Whether you were cheering her on or just here for the adventure, I hope this fanfic brought a smile to your face and maybe even inspired a little spark of something in your heart. If you enjoyed the series, don't forget to give this video a like and share it with your friends who might enjoy it too. Your support is what helps this channel grow, and it truly means a lot. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more stories, fanfics, and other content I'll be sharing in the future. Thank you again for being part of this journey, and for all the love and positive energy you've shared in the comments and through your views. I can't wait to bring you more exciting stories, So stay tuned for what's next. With lots of love, and many thanks from the bottom of my heart. 6 Path Weeb.